Beauty Brains Bubbly Uncorked is all about empowering women through the sharing of ideas. We will be tackling topics pertinent to women, some difficult and occasionally taboo subject matter, in an open and honest way, with humor, authenticity, and joy, in the hope that you will feel welcomed and choose to join us in the deep and meaningful discussions that impact all of our lives. In today's show, we are discussing the impact of hormonal changes and perimenopause in our lives. Welcome.
Hi, welcome to another Friday night on the couch. I'm here with my wonderful co-host, Cora, and we have a very special guest with us. Her name is Jenna Ryan. She is the founder of a company called Uqora, and we will be talking about that because it is a really cool product that I know everybody is going to want to hear about. But before we do that, I actually was able to get my sister-in-law to get on camera and do a little confessional about hormonal changes and her experiences that she's going through right now with perimenopause. And so let's run that.
Hi, my name's Darlene. I turned 43 this past spring, and it was about that time my doctor let me know that I was starting to feel the effects of perimenopause. I had never heard of perimenopause. I had no idea there was a period of time before menopause where your body started to go through changes. For me, it has been extreme exhaustion to the point of having a hard time driving home from work sometimes, yet sleeplessness and restlessness at night. It takes me an hour or two to fall asleep, and then around 2, sometimes 3 a.m., I'm up thinking about all sorts of things with tension in my shoulders and anxiety, and I just have to get up and move, restlessness throughout the day and night. And I'm finding there's not a lot of information out there about perimenopause. After my initial blood tests with my doctor, they suggested that I start testosterone therapy, and I'm not sure I'm ready to go down that road yet since this is pretty early on in the process for me. I've tried some over-the-counter sleep aids to help myself sleep. Nothing has really worked. I've tried teas, sleepy time tea, nighty-night tea. That hasn't helped. And I'm not finding a lot of products out there for perimenopause. I find menopause products, supplements, but I'm not really sure what to take to feel better. It's just not feeling myself, and I'm super, super exhausted and need a reprieve. If you have any ideas out there for me, I'm certainly open to hearing them.
Well, it's good to know that I'm not the only one that is suffering. It is amazing to me, A, how little we talk about this, and B, I agree with her. There isn't a lot of information out there that's helpful. And I know when I have gone and talked to my GP and just even mentioned, like, hey, I'm getting hot flashes and I am like waking up in full-blown like night sweats where I'm just I'm soaked, and I go from being really, really hot to then I'm like freezing cold, can't sleep, it's miserable. And my GP has been terrible. Not going to mention his name here, but he literally is just like kind of breezes past it, and he's like, oh yeah, well, maybe that's what you're going through. Yeah, probably. That's it. That's all I get. And I think I've brought it up like 2 or 3 times. It's like crickets. So I'm curious for you guys, I mean, I know and I didn't know this until just last night.
Miserable.
You are going through it too.
Oh my God, I had hot flashes on the last episode. I was like, I wonder if my face is red. Am I sweating? Oh my God, it's awful. Like, can I fan myself on camera? It's terrible. But
I wonder,
same thing.
That's what we should all just start doing. Maybe that should just be like a special fan that you get as you start to hit, and you just start to pull that out and carry it around. We just make it a fashion statement.
Like old Costco ladies that are like wearing their little fan that blows up, and I'm like, oh, that's brilliant.
Wait, they wear? I haven't seen this. There's like a fan that you wear?
Personal fan.
Like that goes around
for
your neck, right?
Personal
Sort of like
summer.
All year round?
All year round.
Holy cow.
I had a client walk in one day with one of those old-fashioned ice bags, and she just kept going, ugh, bleh, and it would blop on her head, and I'm like, what are you doing? I'm having a hot flash.
Did your mom, like, did you guys ever talk about, has anyone, in terms of like the female women in your life, have you ever had a conversation with someone who's been all the way through it?
No, my female women don't talk.
I've talked about it with my mom, in part because she also went through really early menopause. And so I think she kind of went through that same sort of situation where she felt like there was no info, no one had prepped her for it. And, perimenopause can last 10 years. And so to be in that situation where you're talking to your doctor and they're sort of dismissing it, or you're looking for answers and no one can really give them to you for nearly a decade is wild.
I think so strangely enough, I was recently cast in a commercial talking about menopause. Seems to be a theme for me right now. I'm doing a lot of stuff for the older women age group. And what was crazy is so I went in and I met with the people that own the company. And first of all, it was a table full of men. Literally, I'm in a conference room and everybody that's sitting there, all male, and we're going to talk about menopause, and this is their product that they're bringing to market.
There is the word men in menopause.
There is the word menopause. Actually, if you think about it, men, pause.
Yeah. A little bit of warning signal.
Actually, very well named. Ahead of time, men, pause. But what was interesting, they knew more about it and what I was going through than I did. And so they were asking me, like, what are your symptoms, right? So beyond, like, we all know night sweats, we all know, the hot flashes, like those are like the standard things. Mm-hmm. But they started bringing up, the weight, are you having weight gain? Are you having irritability? Are you having trouble sleeping? Headaches? And I'm all ding, 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 ding. I'm all, wait, what a minute, wait. Did you just say headaches? So you're telling me that as I'm going through perimenopause, headaches are a potential symptom? Because that's another issue I've gone to my doctor about. Had headaches recently that I'd never had before, unexplainable, and never once did he say, oh, maybe the headaches are related to the perimenopause that you just brought up that I just brushed aside. Nothing. Crickets. Silence. So strange.
That's wild.
They never say my weight gain's that either. I'm like, they're like, it's the donuts.
It's the donuts and the perimenopause.
Perimenopause.
Mixed together, both of them. So do you have, and I don't know, Jenna, are you going through it at all?
Not yet.
You're not yet. You're not there yet.
Knowing that my mom went through it early, it's something that's top of mind for me too. Of just, if these other things are coming up that are easy to pinpoint as, headaches are easy to think that it could be all sorts of things. I always blamed dehydration for every issue in my life, and maybe
a lot of times that's what it is.
But then you can't get to the core issue if no one's talking about the symptoms.
That those are potential signs and things to be thinking about. What's scary is, like with my sister-in-law, she's so young, and you have a doctor that's immediately going to pharmaceutical, like, here, let's just, dose you up with some additional testosterone. And she said no, which I don't blame her. I think I would be in the same boat. Like, really? And what's that going to do? Because there's probably a gazillion side effects to that. And you end up like a seesaw going from one direction to the other. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I don't know that there's a really good answer other than being aware of it and somehow being able to talk to your partner about it too, because, boy, so my fiance has actually said to me recently, and this is sad and embarrassing, but he's like, we've been together for over 10 years. And he's like, I don't know who you are. You're a different person than the person that I've known for 10 years. And again, I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, really?
I'm just myself.
Am I that different? But I do feel like I am probably in a weirder headspace, almost like you're perpetually about to start menstruating,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
all the time.
Well, PMS is one of the symptoms of perimenopause, which is so hard to pinpoint. You know, I'd always take someone else telling me that I'm PMSing for me to really know that I'm.
Well, first of all, who is that someone else?
Yes, it's always partner. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is never what you want to hear.
Why do I feel so angry at you? You're just breathing.
Right.
I don't know. You're just making me mad.
Yeah.
There's no reason.
It's really rough. So I don't, I'll tell you what I told my sister-in-law, because obviously on her confession, she's like, do you have any ideas? Can you help me? And I'm like, I don't know. Can someone help me too while we're at it? But it was interesting. I will say and I put her on this. I'm like, okay, you have to start taking this because I'm doing it as well. I don't know if this works. We're going to find out. It takes a little while. It's this Ambrym, and they say you have to take it for, at least probably 60 days before you'll really start to see some differences. The first thing that they said that you would notice is the hot flashes and the night sweats would go away. And I'm like, well, if that's the only thing it gets rid of, I'll take it.
It'd be nice to get rid of the head.
That would be a really good starter. So that's something we're doing over the next 90 days, her and I. And I'm going to see if I can't get Cora to do it with us. And then we'll do a testimonial. We'll come back and see.
Just going to be bullied even more.
You are. She feels like she's bullied. Like I make her come and do this stuff. Like she's
terrible.
Never been on camera before, and I'm like, hey, we're just going to go. We're going to sit. We're going to hang out, and there'll be 8 bazillion cameras pointed at us and a whole bunch of really big lights.
Everyone needs that
Yeah.
friend, the fun pusher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just pretend
Oh
we're
my
not
God,
there. It's
bullies
not a big
and
deal.
pushers. Is that the same thing?
But if you call it fun pusher, it doesn't sound as bad as bully.
I like that. I'm the fun pusher.
Fun pusher.
I'm making you tackle fears and
Right.
to have new experiences. See? It's a good thing.
I guess it's time to grow.
It's called spin. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
so that's an option. We'll try it. But I think the other part of this, along with everything, and this is kind of the theme for this show, is that, I think it's okay for us as women to talk about it with each other and to share the struggle. Because, boy, it sure feels better when you know that you're not the only person that's feeling a little like, how did you put it? I just want to hate you, just as you're
I just hate you.
breathing.
I just no reason.
Breathing's the
You're
crime.
breathing.
Yeah.
Yeah. You won't stop for some reason.
Please.
Just to
I wish
irritate
you
me, you're
would.
breathing still.
So, since we're sort of on this theme of women's health issues, one of the things I want to do, we do a beauty segment for every show. And it's really important, I think, that everybody realizes that it's not just beauty products that are beautiful. There are other things that we run across in the world that sometimes are more beautiful than a lipstick. And one of them for me recently, again, another shoot that I was lucky enough to go on, I met Jenna because she hired me to talk about UTIs. Little did she know, she hired me. I had just had 3 months of UTIs, one every month, 3 months in a row. And my GP, again, which it's starting to sound like I need to find a new one, by the way, to myself, as I say this stuff out loud, I'm like, he's really maybe not
Man,
great.
I hate this guy.
Maybe I need to find a female doctor. Basically, he was like, I think what you need to do is take an antibiotic after you have sex every single time. And my response to him was, well, how many antibiotics can I take in a day?
You know I'm a busy girl.
I didn't even get a chuckle. I'm just like, if we're going to do this, can we at least have a sense of humor about it?
Yeah.
Counting on once a week.
Yeah, probably. Or less. I mean, I don't even know. But, let's be honest. Yes, it's been 10 years, but I am still only engaged. So We're gonna have to stock up on the antibiotics there, Doc. But so it was interesting to meet Jenna because that's exactly what her company is all about. So I want to run the spot that I actually shot for Jenna and for you, Cora. This is, for today, our beauty segment.
I used to get so many UTIs. I felt like I was always on antibiotics. It started to feel like all I was thinking about. Worrying about UTIs is almost as bad as the UTIs themselves. But then I found Uqora, the UTI prevention company. Now, I finally have my life back. To learn more, go to Uqora.com.
Amazing product. So I want to open this up to Jenna because this is her company, her baby. Give us a little background on how this all came about for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've always struggled with UTIs, and a lot of women do. It's half of all women who get UTIs. And despite the magnitude of the problem, really popular discourse has always been about treatment. Antibiotics is sort of the atom bomb approach. And absolutely you need antibiotics to treat UTIs, but when you're caught in a cycle and taking so many antibiotics, that can become really problematic. Or when you get into that realm where your doctor is describing them as a preventative solution.
Yeah.
So I think that, I started to feel that fear myself. I was really caught in that cycle and wanting to find a way to get ahead of UTIs. And it's the second most common infection in the United States. So
Is it really?
Yes, a big fish to fry. But I didn't really know that at the time. I was really just looking out of desperation for what sort of research and trials had been done around ingredients that are found in nature that can help prevent UTIs. And found that there was some really interesting stuff coming out of universities and hospitals that wasn't being leveraged commercially effectively. And so actually my partner and I, my fiance, started to look into the research and then partner with physicians and urologists to develop our first product, the drink mix, which you saw in that commercial.
Which actually, by the way, is super tasty, in case anyone's curious. It really is good, and even...
Great mixer for your vodka.
Yeah.
Cranberry vodkas are done. That's about Uqora vodka.
Right. Even my fiance, before, just the day before here, taping, we had sex. And he's like, you better to go drink that drink so that you don't show up for the taping of the show. So
Sage advice.
I am definitely on board completely. It's great.
Yeah.
So that was the first science background. Did you like?
Yeah. So my partner's background, Spencer's background, is in molecular biology, and he had experience developing different health products in the past. My background's in e-commerce and UTIs. So I bring that to the table. And the product works by attaching to the bacteria that causes UTIs. So it's not killing it, but it's occupying the bacteria so your body can safely flush it out of your urinary tract. And the drink mix in particular, you drink after high-risk activities like sex.
So I don't know if you've ever done this. I know that my fiance has had to make the trip like late at night to the grocery store in the past, and he'll bring back like a gallon of cranberry juice, and I drink that until I'm sick. And I don't necessarily know that it ever was really doing me all that much good. Is that sound advice that we were getting, or is that like one of those things that, I don't know, try it, maybe it'll work, that we were all doing, but
Yeah. The research is really conflicting. We sort of joke about big cran over at Uqora because so much of the research has come from cranberry companies.
Right.
But, there was a operating theory that made sense at the time, and I think it's sort of an
Like
old
acidity
wise
levels and
Yes.
changing pH, and which actually I've used baking soda before.
Which does, the opposite of acidifying. It alkalizes your urine.
Yeah.
There's some really good research that shows
Yeah.
that helps with bacterial growth.
Yeah, it really helps.
Slow bacterial growth.
Well, and when you have the cranberry that has sugar in it, like a cocktail,
Right.
Cranberry juice cocktail, not a cocktail, that would be awesome. Cocktails curing UTI.
Right.
A bunch of drunk women.
Could take that edge off one.
Yeah, but the sugar, the additional sugar in your system is actually feeding the bacteria.
Right.
So if you're going to have cranberry, it's got to be just cranberry, which is the most awful thing to drink.
It tastes that.
Why don't you add apple cider vinegar to that and some other things too,
Right.
Just to make it taste better.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with the Uqora drink instead.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Seriously.
it's actually really tasty, and you don't have to drink as much. If you think about like what we're doing, like if you take down, like I have in the past, those big huge things of sugary cranberry juice, do you know how many calories is in that?
Yeah.
So now not only do I have a UTI, but I'm gonna be like 3 pounds heavier on the scale tommow too.
And now I'm
To add
insulin
to it.
resistant.
Yeah. For sure. Just not a tenable solution.
No, it's not. So hopefully that is helpful to other ladies who are out there that are suffering from this, because I know it's a huge problem, has been in the past. It isn't now, thank goodness. But I know I'm not alone in suffering from that stuff. So I'm really glad that, no offense, that you suffered and made a difference
No, I
for
understand.
all the rest of us, because you're like, I'm going to do something about it. And that's what we need. We need more women in the world that are like, okay, I'm not going to, I say no to this. I'm not putting up with this. I'm actually going to just go out in the world and figure out how to do something about it.
Right. Well, thank you.
Good job.
Thanks. And actually, what's interesting about it too is it does sort of tie into what we were talking about earlier with menopause. And UTIs, I think, are talked about often as a young woman's problem. We all sort of link it to honeymoon cystitis, having a lot of sex early on, and that's like what we all talk about.
That's like, can you go to the doctor? And he's like, do you wipe from front to back? Yeah, I've been doing that for years.
Oh,
I got that one down.
Right.
Get me started on that
Do you
one.
go pee after you have sex? Yeah. I got it. I got it.
Yeah.
Like, it's like calling, you know, a computer guy and him asking you if you plugged the computer in. Yeah. How about this? Take that question out of the mix.
For
The
sure.
computer's plugged in, and yes, I wipe from front to back.
Right. I totally agree. It's condescending.
Yeah, it really is. It really is.
Well, even when, so my daughter, my first daughter, she got her first UTI at 2 weeks old.
Oh, yeah.
Which is just a bear to deal with, because I'm like, I have a cranky, fevery baby and I have no, you know.
Yeah.
And they're like, are you wiping her from front to back? That was expletives, in case you couldn't hear them.
I told her she wasn't allowed to use any bad language on the show, which I should have.
Half my
Literally, it's a note for
communication.
myself too, because we are terrible sometimes.
Sailors.
But
I like just holding the air for what would be there, though.
maybe we could just
Yeah.
hold up like one of those little signs where it's got like the pound sign and the
Yeah.
exclamation point. You know.
Yeah. So they put her, you know, she literally was hospitalized at that point for like 4 days just for a UTI, which
Wow.
trying to get a sample from a baby is stupid hard.
Oh my gosh.
You know, they like tape a bag to all of the soft bits, and you're like, oh my God, does that hurt?
Wait, was this Soph or Marlo?
Marlo, poor thing. But between the time that she was 2 weeks and the time that she was maybe 3 years, she had 9 or 10.
Wow.
And they eventually found like a medical reason for it. She had like a weird little kidney backflush that she grew out of. But you know, you have a baby that now you're spending all of this time like giving them antibiotics and then giving them probiotics and doing all these like it just seems terrible to continue to have to like bag a baby up to try to get a urine sample.
Yeah.
You know?
And what that does for her microbiome.
We're gonna put your stuff in the bottle and just there you go. There's your
We do have some very young customers.
What's
Why
your
not?
youngest? Like, what's the youngest age that you would recommend your products for?
I mean, our answer is always that the product hasn't been tested in very young children, so
Right.
it's, you know, talk to your doctor. But people have reached out to us about their 4-year-olds. And then the oldest customer we've heard from was 104 years old. So the age
I'm
range
having
is...
UTIs at 104. I mean, something's gotta give.
Yeah, I know this comes as bad news, but it's most common in the elderly.
Really?
Yes, yeah.
'cause their organs don't work as efficiently, so their kidneys don't flush as well, and stuff and things. So.
Well, and incontinence becomes more of an issue, which is not totally dissimilar from what you're describing with your daughter. You know, if you're sitting in your urine, it has the ability to, you know, collect bacteria more easily, and there's sort of that whole interchange that can happen.
Right. I think you also lose a little bit of tonicity through the bladder, which causes little folds where you start to get urine that sits.
Yeah, and back to menopause, the loss of estrogen is directly correlated with the breakdown of the muscles around the bladder, and that leads into prolapse and incontinence.
I like her. She knows all kinds of things.
She's smart. I mean, honestly, I'm just going to kick back over here and let the two smart people talk.
You said I could be brains.
Yes, actually. That was her first thing when I asked her to be a part of this. And she's like, well, which one am I? I'm brains, right?
I'll be booze.
Right? Like, what does that make me? Whatever, I'll take it. So I want to do something called the question of the day with you guys. So are you ready? Mm-hmm. Here it is. Sex positivity. What does that mean to you?
Oh.
If I stumped everyone. You're like, I don't know.
Positivity.
I think for me, so I recently read this book called Come As You Are, and it's all about, you know, being connected with your sexuality. And one of the things that I took away from it the most was just constantly checking yourself on whether you're judging your sex life, like putting judgment on it yourself. And I think that was like a really big awakening to realize that like so much of the like stress and pressure that comes from wondering if you're having enough sex or you're having the right sex is like often coming from cultural inputs and porn. I could go on and on about that. Yeah.
Porn, right? Who's having porn sex all the time? Nobody.
Right.
Porn stars.
Yeah.
It frightens me that the porn industry is where so much of our youth now. I don't feel like the porn industry for me growing up like defined my ideas about sex, because it just wasn't available to us like it is to now this generation. I look at my sons and it bothers me that they've had access. I mean, they're grown men. They're, you know, in college. One's graduated from college. But I know that is a much bigger part of their concept of sex than it ever was for me.
Or the concept of their partners.
Or what their expectation is from their partners, which is frightening because, I don't know, I feel a sense of responsibility as a mom to send them out into the world and have them be good partners to some lucky female. And I hope you will thank me and not curse me at the end of the day. But their concepts and the things that they're learning about sex, and then the potential pressure, not only that they put on themselves, but then is on the females of that generation. I mean, that's just, to me, that just seems like it would be excruciating to have to live up to that. Because it's never going to happen.
Nope.
Yeah.
The expectation actually causes like that sort of relationship breakdown where you feel like you're not getting what you're supposed to get, which is super unfair.
Yeah.
On both sides.
Yeah.
And you're not giving what you're supposed to give, and you're just like, really, again, it's like third time today. Well, the porn star girl does it all day long.
Yeah.
For money.
Right.
Jeez.
That's a fair point. They are getting paid.
Yeah.
I think when I think about sex positivity for me, and I look at my life, you know, I feel like I was in some ways incredibly lucky growing up that I didn't feel sex shamed. I think that as young women, a lot of times there's a sense of we cannot be sexual beings. It's like this weird push-pull between men wanting you to be sexy but not too sexy, or, you know, being accused of being, you know, slut shamed or whatever if you are sexually active with someone outside
This
of
is like
marriage.
that Victorian era, like you're not allowed to be like sexual or happy about having sex. You're basically just a breed mare, you know. And then you had, do you remember this? Like when they started going to the doctors that would basically like jack you off for
What?
like, yes. Oh my God, it was like a
Like,
thing.
remember this in
You'd go
history?
to the, yes, it is a thing in history where they'd go to the doctors and they would release their hysteria.
Wow.
Oh yes, this I do.
Yeah, it was like a thing.
hysteria.
I have to go to the doctor again. Yes.
Hysterical. What
I'm
you
not
gonna do?
feeling well. Like seriously, that
They're
was the
having
lucky
to
doctor.
do that because their husbands didn't know how to. Correct? Like,
Well, it was because, yes, it was set up in like that Victorian era where they weren't allowed to enjoy it, and the husband wasn't allowed to. They really didn't do fun things. So the husband was like, you just lay there and I'll just do this and we'll have a baby and then I'm gonna go off and like hang out with my mistress, which is like a thing. You're
that's
like,
who I want to be.
I want to be the mistress.
The siren, isn't that what they were called? Is the
sirens,
Yeah, they were the ones that the men went to, and they were not always
Courtesan.
they weren't necessarily the most beautiful. The whole concept was that was where the men would go, really to sit and have like their intellectual conversations, and these women were very comfortable in their sexuality, and that was the place where everyone could just be open and equal and free and all of that. Now we want that. I want to be the siren in my relationship, right? I just feel like,
But it's not about being a porn star.
No, it's
Because
not.
sexuality is in your brain too.
Yeah.
Like
I mean,
it's a thing. It's a place. It's an environment that you create in your brain. Sexuality is.
yeah, and I
seems
feel like the most. I have a wonderful partner. I don't feel hardly any pressure to be more porn star-ish or do more. So much of it comes from within me. The pressure. It's how I
Right.
feel.
Right.
And that's where kind of taking a step back and realizing that like, is this really what I'm pushing myself toward, or is this a whole environmental context that I can try and detach from and then just get back to enjoying what's fun, you know?
Yeah. And I think that's at the end of the day, in terms of sex positivity, it's that sex is a positive thing, just at its root, and that we can acknowledge that it is a positive, beautiful experience, and that's what it should be, and that we can talk about it in a positive and honest and an open way, because there's a ton to learn, which then is going to bring me into our growth challenge. So one of the things that I wanted to do was to take a class that was outside of my comfort zone to learn something new. And so I took my fiance to a class that was supposed to be about sex and then breath work, and was sort of touted as being able to have an orgasm or give someone an orgasm without touching them through breathing.
Whoa.
It's like Reiki.
I'm excited to hear the review.
Yeah, yeah.
It's the Reiki of body work.
Reiki sex. So it was definitely outside of our comfort zone by a long shot. And this place we went, there was like this hot room, and there was a bunch of people in there, which I was really surprised by. And it was a little, a little hippy dippy, like kind of a joint. And what was crazy is people really, I want to say crazy. What was great is people really did let go. Like, it was an opportunity to sit, to talk about sex, to talk about being in the moment and being centered, and using your breath to have a better experience and to be more connected with your partner, which I thought was great. So that part of it, I was like, oh, there's some really cool stuff to learn here. What was a little wonky for me, and I know for Jamie, was one part of the class was where we were all standing, and they say, okay, so we want you to let go with sound, right? So to take these breaths, and then whatever sounds come out, release them. And they said, we just are going to let you know that through this process, some people may orgasm, and, you know, just be prepared for that as they're making their sounds.
Oh, I have such an active imagination.
Oh, and as will you should, because it was quite fascinating. So here's Jamie and I, right? So we're standing there, and everyone's supposed to have their eyes closed. So we're closing our eyes, right, making our sex sounds or whatever. And all of a sudden, as people are really ramping up, and you're hearing these sounds going on, there is a lady that is behind us whose sex sound was barking. Which immediately threw me. No. So we're standing there.
You're interrupting my orgasm with your barking.
And he and I are like this, then looking at each other, and I could tell, like, he's just like, you have got to be kidding me right now.
How can you keep your eyes closed through
Oh, how do you not laugh? Like, because you can't, like, you don't want to be offensive to someone. That's her sound. God love her. Like, she barks, whatever, during her moment. But what was great, so here's the thing about doing this. So you go and you take a class or a course, and you learn something that is completely outside of anything that you would normally do. And there are going to be moments of that, like there were for us, I'm sure, that you think are weird, or that you're like, that didn't really work for me, and you kind of throw them out. But regardless of that, it was great to, step out of our comfort zone. We had an amazing margarita afterwards and laughed our tail feathers off. Look, I didn't even cuss there. It was so good. And it ended up being so much fun and such a great talking point for us as a couple. And when you've been together for a really, really long time, let's be honest, like, we've had a lot of margaritas together. You run out of things to talk about sometimes. And so for me, I was like, I'm so glad we did that. I don't know if he's always felt the same way about that particular class, but
He blamed you.
he kind of blamed me about the barking and the weird moments. Yeah. But have you done anything like that, or have you thought about, like, going and taking a class like that, maybe whether it's sex or something else that's just completely outside of the norm for you?
No, I looked at some online, and like the picture of the lady that's doing the class, I'm like,
Not my type.
I just can't. I got nothing. I
don't think I'll relate. We're just too. It's like it's not.
I think that a lot of times how I feel about those types of things, when I see that type of person that I've seen, I don't want to. I feel like you're trying to make me experience it how you would experience it. And I'm not comfortable with that. Like, I don't feel like you're trying to teach me how to, and this is completely and utterly like my own little brain schism, you know, of my oppositional defiance disorder, you know, where I'm just like, no, I don't want to see it your way. No, because I just don't see us having anything in common. You know, and you're like, but why? Why don't I? But it isn't necessarily about maybe even the topic or what they would teach. I'm not comfortable, I think, being, and I think this is all part of how your parents, my parent in particular, my mother, she kind of used, in my opinion, emotion to control me. And I don't want to be controlled that way by somebody. And that's how I feel about that particular lady that I'm talking about. I looked at her and I'm all,
Like, it's proselytizing.
Yeah.
She's recruiting.
Yeah, I'm not playing. Nope.
Yeah.
Nope, not your lemur. Pick someone else. And I just said no. And that was really the only thing I've ever looked at like that. And really, there's not very much like that in Sacramento.
Well, that brings up the point is I don't know that there are courses and things like that, but they do tend to feel a little out there for, I think, what would be comfortable for the average, like, couple. Certainly Jamie looked at me like I had lost my mind. Like, why are we here? What are we doing? I had the different parenting style of go check out everything. Like, go to different churches, go to different, like, go see how other people live, because experience the world through somebody else's eyes. And so I'm super comfortable. I love it. I'm like, I know that I can sit in that room and I'm not going to necessarily drink all of the Kool-Aid. I might take a sip, but I know it's okay for me to be there and have the experience with them and enjoy them having their fantastic experience.
I just want to walk around with my cocktail tray like, would you like some more Kool-Aid? I'm just the help.
No, but it's true. You can take a small piece away and then add it to your mosaic of what you want your experience to be.
It's so much fun, and there's other ones that I know I've done, similar crazy, funny stories. Not always where you leave and go, yeah, I want to go do that again, but always leaving those things feeling like I've learned something about myself, what I like, what I don't like, even if it's yeah, that's definitely not for me. We can cross that one off the list.
Right?
Yeah.
It's a no. I thought it was a no, but it's officially a no.
Yeah.
I think it's a good thing, and I think that that's an area where I hope other people watching this, other women in particular, take some chances. Go take a class, go take a course, go do something that is completely opposite of what you would be normally comfortable with. And just experience it, because it's fascinating. And whether you go back or you end up making it a part of your world.
So time to grow right now. Such a pusher.
Do this.
I am pushing this growth challenge.
It's such a sex pusher.
Okay, I could talk to you forever, and you're going to have to make the drive from San Diego and come back and visit again.
Would love to.
Because I know Kara is going to cry when you leave. She's like, there's a smart lady on the couch with us right now, and I love her. So cheers to a Friday on the couch with some amazing ladies, and I hope that you will all come back again next week and join us for another round of bubbly and great conversation.
Thanks for watching. Beauty Brains Bubbly Uncorked is about embracing life's challenges, taking mighty risks, and pushing ourselves to grow with just a little less fear, knowing that we're not alone in our journeys. We would like to invite you to be a part of this community of brave, bold women who are going deep. Share your story. Visit us at beautybrainsbubbly.com. Stick around. Check out our other videos. Subscribe. Share the show with the women you love. We make a mighty and powerful tribe. This show is made possible through advertiser support, and we love getting discounts and special deals from them that we can share with all of you. To get the special offers that they've extended, click the affiliate links below or grab them on our website. Thanks for joining. Hope to see you again.